Let's go disco.
Derrick, catching up with you. It's a Tuesday lunchtime. Well, not quite lunchtime for you, Derrick. I know you like...
I like my power lunch. Yeah, I skip lunch, mate. What was it Gordon Gekko said?
Right, eating's cheating. I don't know. What did he say?
Lunch is for wimps, he said, apparently.
Lunch is for wimps. There you go.
No, I love food. I love food.
That's really the mentality of Giggs and Bell, right? So
no, we love food, mate. We love everything. We enjoy it. We love it and enjoy it all.
So, Derrick, we've been in partnership, just celebrating our 4th year.
We have indeed, man.
Wow.
What a roller coaster. It doesn't feel like four years, honestly.
Well, I looked the other day at the photos of you moving in and all that kind of stuff. But just there was something else you said to me last week. You were talking to somebody who used to work at Countrywide, and obviously we all got loads from working at Countrywide.
We have massive.
Bit of an end of an era, I suppose, over there. But did that era end maybe a little while ago?
Sad, end of an era, actually. It's sad in the way, yeah, I'd say. Yeah, sad in the way things have turned out, but equally, treasured moments, treasured times, and relationships that will last forever.
What did you take away from working with Countrywide? What was your kind of like? Because I know we both went there and worked there for quite some time before we started our joint venture.
Matt, more good things than anything else, quite frankly. Very regimented, very organised in most ways. But what I did take away, and what I've kind of tried to work on, is to really work with and think about and listen to my staff. And instead of looking for bad things, sticks to beat them with. And I guess sometimes it's like that with big companies, because maybe a bit of justification for roles and things. I look at trying to develop them and get the best out of them. And then always...
It's a really... And I think there's a lot of it, not just cultural, but I think it's intrinsic as well, because when you want to be your best and you want to make progress, more often than not, you focus on the things that you're not doing, and sometimes you don't look at what you're achieving. And I think the fact that we're 4 years in, we've built a fabulous business. And to be honest, Derrick, you've driven that business. You've built a fabulous team now, and it does take time to build a team. But you didn't go into like a self-employed role as such. You came in and went, I want to build a business.
Yeah, without a doubt, man.
So what made you want to work in a partnership rather than just go and do the self-employed model or go and work as another director somewhere else?
Well, Matt, who doesn't like a bit of comfort? Who doesn't like some inbuilt infrastructure? Who doesn't like, and I mean this is the truth, the ability or the opportunity to work with you in terms of what you do, in terms of the mentoring, and it's all on tap. And you need to phone you up and it just goes whoom. And I mean that in the really nicest possible way. To have that
people
on tap is really brilliant.
People think that we've just geared this and prepared this conversation up. And,
well, Matt, if people know you, they know that you are pure positivity all the time. And if someone comes to you with a challenge or a situation, you'll come up with a positive outlook. You'll come up with a plan, and together, things can be sorted out. But not that we've had many moments like that. We've been very lucky because of the great team that we've kind of have in place.
We've had some challenges, haven't we? We've had
moments. We've had moments, of course we have.
Kind of gelled or fitted, and some months where we were tested out on things like exchanges. But all in all, every year has been very, very, very progressive.
Yeah, that's the word I was going to use.
I really admire what you've built there in terms of the team. So what advice would you give for aspiring business owners, I suspect? There's a lot of people that are going into the self-employed model where it's about them and they're trying to build a business with either an umbrella organisation or within an organisation and, trying to literally go out and feed themselves, if you like.
Yeah.
And I guess you've got to have a really driven, hungry, kind of motivated kind of selfish in some respects mentality to go and do that.
Yeah, you do.
Because you've got, it is literally the hunter and not the gatherer. And, obviously not everyone feels like that, but they also don't want to maybe work with restrictions or, So what's been the biggest positive for you in the last 4 years of going, right, okay, you know what, going into a partnership, because it was my first one. We stumbled across this.
We did indeed.
You came and visited me in 2015. and you said at the end of 2015, I'm leaving Countrywide. What do I do? I've just got some ideas, thinking of different things. Love what you're doing here. And it literally was a comment. I just said, well, we could do the same thing, you know, put your name on the brand, and then off you go. And off you, four very profitable years later.
Yeah, there was the start of Giggs and.
It did, yeah. We've now got
yeah.
Giggs and McGrath, Giggs and Home. We've obviously got Assured Mortgage Advice, Signature Homes, and we've created some fantastic brands within the group. But you were the first to kind of share my brand.
I tell you what it was, and in fairness, you know, when I did the Countrywide and when I was planning to leave, I looked and spoke to quite a few other people and thought about really what I wanted to do. And I just felt I've been myself. I've been truly myself. And sometimes when you are in the corporate world, as much as you try and be individual, you are corporate. You are part of what is indoctrinated in you, and you can't help that. And I guess a lot of that is still within me anyway, in terms of the regimented things, in terms of the procedures and some of the things that you believe in. But I found myself. And I honestly, that's really deep. That's deep, but it's the truth. So I've had to ask questions of myself as well. I've had to do different things. I've had to, crikey, I remember when you said to me, you should go on Facebook, Derek. And I said, what book? Because I'd never been on it, quite frankly, until we, you know, went into partnership. And all of a sudden it just went, wow, just went bam. It was just an amazing thing that I'd never experienced before. But no, overall, it's been about being myself and the freedom and the ability to go out and do something I really love. And honestly, my love for estate agency and people has just been absolutely reignited.
You've been doing it. You were doing it 30 years before we joined.
Absolutely.
And I know that one of the things I love seeing you do is you're working in the community with the schools and doing all those different things. And, you know, like I said, there are a lot of people out there at the moment that are feeling like, you know, they're probably in fairly senior positions, maybe like you were as a regional director, in looking after offices. It's a big old step to go from doing that and you're managing 60, 70, 80 people, let's say, for example, and then going out on your own and then, right, I'm off and doing it myself. What was the advantages of you having a team maybe with you at the start and the resources from that point of view?
Listen, I mean, obviously it's an immediate step up. It's much closer to where I was in terms of, you know, having an infrastructure and things in place like when I was at Countrywide. And you gave us that. I mean, I have to say, I will never forget the absolutely unbelievable help I got from obviously yourself, but your team who are always there at hand. The team in St. Neots who again, you know, like you, it was a new thing. What's this Giggs and thing? Then all of a sudden they just adapted to it really, really quickly. Welcomed me with open arms. I don't think there's anything that I ever needed that I didn't have. But sometimes you don't know, no matter how, honestly, the time I spent in all those decades I spent in the business working for Countrywide, some of the things that I started to do when we opened Giggs and Bell were new things to me because I hadn't got involved with them at Countrywide because there was always someone else to do it. And actually quite exciting and quite fun and quite refreshing to have the ability to arrange some of the deals and sort some of the things out that you just took for granted at Countrywide. So the infrastructure for me was absolutely perfect. So I was able to get up and running really quickly and learn very, very quickly as well, Matt, that it was about me. And honestly, the pride, you know, I don't often talk about this, but it's absolutely there. I'm a proud person. I'm very, very grateful and humble, but the pride of having your name above the door and the responsibility that comes with that as well is just second nature. It's brilliant.
Well, I mean, that it is. I mean, when you know, when we first opened Giggs & Co 9 years ago, coming up, it was you'd walk down the road and you'd see one of your boards, and your kids are like, oh, you know. And I know Jess was, because she was our eldest. Like she'd go, "Daddy's board," and that sort of stuff. It does hit you, doesn't it?
Wouldn't she say, "Daddy, you haven't sold that one yet"?
Well, she has said that on a few occasions.
My Megan.
And we try and walk away from boards that aren't sold, so they don't give me a hard time.
Absolutely.
But what advice would you give? I mean, not about, coming into a business partnership is, it's almost like the third option, I suppose, for people looking to do something, because they've got their own opportunity to go and do something. I mean, what are the downsides of being in a partnership for you? And just don't say there isn't any, because there will be some. And for someone watching this, they need to know, right? What's the downside?
Honestly, Matt, I can't think of many downsides. I think when you have, we don't always agree on everything,
No.
that's a fact. We don't agree on everything. So
I'd be worried if we did.
So would
Yeah.
I. So would
Yeah.
I. And I think the downside is that, for me, I really want to achieve. I want to pay back faith.
Yeah.
And sometimes if something doesn't go right or well or as planned, you feel that you haven't really paid back the faith, I guess. I'm my own boss with a partner that I can lean on for stuff. I can't, honestly, maybe ask me in a couple of years' time, Matt, when something comes up, but I can't see a downside. But I guess some may, have things that they want to do, and I'm fairly tight with the purse strings anyway, so it's never about spending money. It's never that, an investment. But
I think we're lucky though, because like having worked with you for 4 years, then Damien for a few years, and coming up, I was out walking with Damien last night, and watching their growth and your growth, it's been different.
Of course it has.
Different journeys. He's benefited from your journey,
and
you
likewise
benefited from our journey, and you're benefiting from some of the stuff he's doing. And now Gary's coming.
And Gary,
he's telling me, I'm glad that he can pick on your experience. And I think that's the bit that I think can be underestimated when you're in your own business and you're not with a partner, or you're not in an infrastructure. Yeah. You can feel very isolated and very on your own. I know that feeling from when I first opened Giggs and Co, and it was just me and Mel. And Mel was really a full-time mum, and I was a full-time freaking everything. I'm trying to run a business and an estate agent, be an estate agent, listing houses, doing everything. It was a real challenge.
I must say, having the other partners, Damien, Gary, Nick to a certain extent, of course, Ollie, on board, does take you back a little bit to the Countrywide days, in that you've got a bit of a team around you. You've got experienced heads, people you can talk to, people who want to talk to you, because, I know I've got a lot to offer, having been around for so many years. There are things that they'll come and talk to me about, and likewise. So actually, it takes you back a little bit to some of that Countrywide comfort. Yeah. It gives you a little bit of that Countrywide comfort, but in your own boat.
Well, we do a lot of training, as you know. Probably it hasn't been quite as prominent in the last 12 months as we would have all preferred, but it's been hands to the deck, and I think most agents in the market would be exceptionally grateful for the way the market's been over the last 12 months. It's allowed us to not just trade, but to trade extremely well.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's no doubt that's been we've been very lucky in our industry. But the training side of things for us, it's obviously something that I took from when I was at Countrywide. Every Friday I took training in my area, and I still talk about it, and I still have people talk to me about it who don't work with us now, but that worked and opened their own businesses and done their own things. What kind of level of priority do you put on that kind of training?
Enormous, because like you, I used to train on a Friday morning, and I get so much from it, but actually, of course, it's for the team, for them to get something from it, share ideas, test, come back, review, test again, and it was a treat. I've actually found the training to be absolutely spot on at this moment in time, and of course, we're going through this really strange time with COVID and everything, and the utilisation of technology and everything for me has actually made it better.
Yes, it's easier to look like it's quite a lot for everyone to travel in and coming out. You know, you've got an hour session and then off you go. You know, you're not 3 hours out of the office. But I think you know, with what we're doing with the Giggs Way, there's a lot of exciting stuff there along the journey and how we can help each other. But you know, this call is really just to say thank you to you. Actually.
That's an absolute pleasure, man.
And we're recording it because sometimes it's just nice to share positivity. It's a great story. I mean, how many properties have we sold now over there? It's got to be 700 or 800 over that period of time. I would imagine more, maybe. More.
I should actually count. But yeah,
well, it must be. It's probably more. Actually, saying that, I might be under-egging it a little bit, and I think, well, I am under-egging it. But anyway, it's a huge achievement, and the lovely thing to see at the moment is the reviews. You're now over 100, 4.9 average, and a great team that you're building over there. And I think that team comes back down to what I keep hearing them saying, Derek. This is to go out to people that are looking to go and do their own thing, is practice in private, not on the public. Now that is about.
Well, that's our training.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to practice on the public. I appreciate that, but don't just make it on the public. You know, it's important that you still do role plays, you do sessions together, one-to-ones, figure out the challenges, the most difficult conversations, drill them down, focus on the emotion over logic, and off we go. But
Matt, I'd like to think that anyone who is looking at this video that was thinking about kind of stepping out and doing something like we've done together, would have been developed and would have been trained. So it will be their nature to do that with people. But it hits the ground straight away when you're a business leader, you know, in the business, on the pitch, happening at that moment in time. It is absolutely so spot on, pinpoint your training. It just happens straight away. So in fairness, I am, I couldn't be in a better position, actually, I don't think.
We've obviously, with the growth, obviously, we're now probably as a group doing 1,000 property sales a year plus, you know, and I think there's, which is quite incredible. And I think the other thing off the back of it is it's not sounding like we're bragging, but it's how we've got there is through finding people with a particular mindset. And, you know, the growth mindset as opposed to like a fixed mindset. And I think going forward, the differences between the two have been, you know, quite vast. And I think for us, it's definitely a future investment in terms of people, making sure we find the right people, and they've got to have that kind of going on as well. If anyone wants to reach out and ask you any questions, because to be honest, you know, there will be people that are thinking in areas of Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire, even any other areas across the country. They're going to have to invest. They're going to have to massively. It's good. You got to have some grit, determination, drive. You've got to want to learn. Is there anything else that they're going to need to know before contacting us? Because it takes time to build a business.
You ought to love what you do. Honestly, if you love what you do, you'll fall in love even more. And actually, Matt, if any of those people want to come and talk to me, many of them I may know from obviously my past with Countrywide and, you know, associates that I've dealt with over the years, happy to talk to them. Happy for them to come and visit us and have a chat. Come and buy me a coffee and we'll talk about anything.
Brilliant. Well, Derek, thanks for your time today.
That's a pleasure.
Much appreciated.
Thanks for having us.
How are you getting on?
How we get? Do you remember those days?
Yeah.
We're actually doing I'm a decent month. Tell me tonight. Add some more.
You've got it's funny, isn't it? Because obviously I'm a control freak, like a lot of people, but
really?
Not anymore.
No, you're not. I don't think you are anymore.
No.
I don't. To be honest.
Ollie would say I am. You know, you want to be well and competitive, but I think at the end of the day, you got to leave people to drive their bus, you know, and that's what you're doing. Absolutely. And you know that when you come from the kind of background that we have come from, is a bit of a learning curve for us that you do need to step away and leave people to it. But actually, I've learned it, and but what it's done for me is develop some really brilliant people who know what's expected of them. So people know what they're working towards. They do. They're working towards something. They know what's expected of them. It's never a problem at all. It's pretty straightforward, honestly. All right, brilliant. Derek, thank you again. Take care. I'm going to press pause.